hello out there. Welcome, everybody. We are back, and I have some really great things I want to talk to you all about, and it's definitely about the UFC 202 with Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor. I have to tell you, everybody, it was just a very intense but exciting fight. On both sides, I think both of the guys, they definitely deserve fight of the night. This just really true warriors going head to head and toe to toe with each other, and it was just incredible to see. So I mean, it was just I just loved it. I loved everything about it. It definitely was very close. When you watch it live, and I ended up watching it live as it was going on at the time, and I saw some different things, and there were certain things that I didn't see, and it took me to have to go back and watch the whole thing again to see the actual end result and see what everyone was talking about. And at the same time, I analyzed it exactly how the judges ended up issuing the win to Conor McGregor. And I feel like after seeing it the second time, it was just so. It was fair, and it just was a really, really, really close match. I just have to say, like, even, the first round, Conor ends up knocking Nate Diaz down to the ground. But Nate, he gets back up. And then, I felt like that knockdown and the aggressiveness that Conor McGregor displayed in the beginning of the fight definitely scored him the win of that particular round. And then the second round, Conor McGregor again comes out blazing and dropping some really clean shots and combinations directly to Nate Diaz. And he stunned him a couple times. In the second round, he dropped him 2 times. Nate Diaz fell to the ground 2 times in that second round, and but he got back up, and then later in that second round, that's when Nate Diaz, he got his momentum, he shifted gears, and he definitely started to come back on Conor McGregor, and you could see Conor McGregor kind of fading a little bit, and then we go into the third round. Now, mind you, Conor McGregor ended up knocking Nate Diaz 2 times in that second round, so I could see that the judges, were looking at, wow, he really went in there and he nailed it, and he had some clean strikes, some clean shots. He laid some, delivered some really, strategic kicks to Nate Diaz's legs. You could see that there was some damage there, and you could, and then, we know that Nate Diaz, his face tends to, because he has scar tissue and stuff like that, it's just easy for him to open up, cuts and things of that nature, and so that happened, and he started bleeding, and it just looked like a really, really bad, like, bloodbath, that was going on in that fight. But again, let me just go over the third round. So we get to the third round, and this here was very, very telling. And I looked at Conor McGregor going out of the second round, and he was looked like he was slowing down. His strikes were a little bit slower, and he just seemed to be taking much more of a deep breath, but he started sort of kind of like, running away from Nate Diaz, and then in the third round, he started to kind of take a seat back, and I figured, at that point, I'm thinking that in the third round, Conor McGregor just realized that, I feel like I've dominated the first 2 rounds. I've done enough to get me ahead of Nate So I think, I definitely can give a round away in the hopes of me gaining some energy back, because I'm a little bit drained. I'm a little bit, tired here. So, you know what? I'm going to use this round to get some, momentum back, and to rest a little bit. So I feel like Conor McGregor, strategically was thinking, you know what? I can afford to give Nate a round where I can rest. But the thing is with that, when you give your opponent a chance to, like, when you kind of, walk like the way he did, he walked away a few times from from Nate Diaz. Conor McGregor was starting to kind of, run away, but he was taking his time, and he was, taking these long breaks in between that round, the third round. And I figured that's very tricky there, because as you're taking a breather, your opponent, it's allowing them to take a breather too. So you're kind of, you're taking a chance, you're taking a gamble there. But I feel like, Conor McGregor strategically did that on purpose and said, I'm going to run away and get a break here and save face, because, this guy is a monster. I mean, he's big, he hits hard too. And, he, definitely will, smother me with those elbows and those shots, and then lean him up against the cage and everything. So he had to, he definitely was breaking away to survive that round so that he can, come back in the later rounds, so he was sort of kind of trying to get his breath back and his momentum. And I figured he just was thinking, on a strategic level, I can afford, to, let Nate have this round, get my balance, get everything back, because, I guess he felt that he was fading, and he needed to take some breaths here, because he, it was taking a lot out of him, especially those exchanges where, Nate Diaz had him up against the cage, that grappling and things that kind of drains you and so forth. So it kind of smothers you, and you're wrestling around to try to, get out of it, and you're exerting yourself a lot, And so I felt like on a strategic level, this was so telling in that third round that, it definitely went to Nate Diaz. Then we go into the fourth round, and Conor McGregor again landing some really nice, clean shots on Nate Diaz, and they were stunning Nate. They were stunning him, and but then again, you could see Conor kind of. There's times where it was like back and forth. Conor was digging into Nate and getting a lot of clean strikes landing versus what Nate was doing. Some things were landing, and then there were times where Nate was missing, and I feel like because, Nate, his injuries was just so, like, the bleeding, and, he started bleeding in the face and everything. I feel like sometimes, that's like one of those things that is unfortunate, because even though the fighter has a lot of energy, a lot of momentum, a lot of, he still has some juice in him, the blood squirting out and stuff like that in your face, it makes it very difficult, I think, even for the judges to say, you know what, this guy is taking a beating. And that can kind of go against you in the judging's eye, the judge's eyes. I mean, visually you're looking like you're being destroyed, but you don't feel like you know what I mean? You don't feel that way, but you look like you're just destroyed. And I just feel like, with Nate having that situation going on, but he's known to cut easily. So, anyway, so going into so it was the third and, we were in the fourth round, and so it was like, it was back and forth, but it definitely looked like Conor was dominating in there. He had landed some clean combinations. And then in the fifth round, same situation. Conor, was able to, land some really nice strikes and clean. They were clean. They weren't, and they were catching Nate. And I think it just added so many more, more points. But like I said, then Nate comes back in that last round towards the end. But it was just, I think it was just a little too late, at that point. And he ended up, he did trip up Conor McGregor and was able to take him down to the ground in the fifth. There was only a few seconds left on the clock, and then he was able to start pounding. But had he done that a lot sooner in that round, it easily could have gone Nate Diaz's way. I feel like it was really very close, but I feel like Conor McGregor was able to do just enough to capitalize on the win and walk away with a unanimous decision. But like I said, it was very close. But I feel like, Conor McGregor definitely came in there very strategic, a smart strategy. He didn't allow himself to really go to the extreme and overly exert himself as he did in the previous fight. And he was just, you could see it. And it was just awesome to see. It really was. It was a really great fight. But like I said, it easily could have went to Nate Diaz. But again, because I had it at a point where it just started to get really close in points for me. And, but, Conor was able to dig in deep and really, but I think it was those first two rounds where Conor McGregor was able to knock Nate Diaz down 3 times. He knocked him down 3 times, and usually when those knockdowns happen, they usually, people don't forget those, and particularly the judges, and they hold a lot of clout. Plus, Conor McGregor was, he definitely had some really great, very clean strikes that landed, and you could see it. There was a lot of, but they both landed some really great strikes, both of them, but it was just, wow. I mean, it was a battle. It was truly, truly a battle. And like I said, it could have definitely easily went to Nate Diaz. It was that close of a fight. However, I could see that the judges were right in how they scored it because, Conor McGregor just was able to advance ahead of Nate. It was a very, very slight, it wasn't that huge of a margin, but it was enough to definitely secure a win on his part. And so congratulations again to both of these guys and to Conor McGregor. He really, it was great. I guess he had a quote or a statement that he said that you either win or you learn. And I think that last, the previous fight, he learned so much that it really paid off in this fight, and you could see it. So congratulations on your growth in that and on your win. And that strategy, I mean, that's why I was saying, there was a point where he kind of switched gears and he was playing chess in there. I mean, to me, it looked like he was playing chess. And he stormed out there, Conor McGregor, in the very beginning, and he landed some really great, he got a lot of points earlier on. And sometimes when you come out first and you land some really great shots and stinging people in the very beginning, you're knocking them down, constantly, that stays with you. And then you're able to pull away and continue on, delivering some bombs in the later rounds. And then, at one point he conserved himself and allowed Nate to, and he took a chance there because, like, even Nate was able to, while Conor McGregor was running away, he's right, like, he's running away from this guy. He's like, this big guy is just coming at me, when he was running away, Nate was, in chasing him. And I guess I believe the judges just went ahead and they just gave that round to Nate because, Conor, instead of like, you're deducting points, you just give that round because, he was running away at that point, trying to, I guess, get some breath and regroup himself. And I think it was really I think that was a strategic moment, in the fight. So one other thing I want to point out for Nate and the Diaz brothers, like I said, when they get in these fights, someone had told me that if they would use shea butter, natural shea butter, you can get it at any, like, I guess, a health store or whatever, natural healing store places and stuff like that. But it's called natural all raw, like, shea butter. And that shea butter will help if you put it in your face every night, I guess before you go to bed and stuff like that. It will help your skin, especially on your face, from getting opening up cuts, easily. It'll kind of it'll delay that from happening, so you can actually take a lot of shots without the fear of these cuts opening up so easily. So shea butter is supposed to help prevent that from happening so easily, on your skin. So that's a note to the Diaz brothers out there, or anyone else that has that situation that occurs. Go out there and get you some shea butter, and all natural raw shea butter, and put that on your skin, and see if it helps. I'm told that it's supposed to. So get that word out there, guys. Because we don't want to see people bleeding cutting open so easily like that. So we can see, because sometimes I think that doesn't play too well in the fighter's favor, because sometimes it does. It looks like you're getting clobbered, even though you don't feel like it. You still in there throwing your own bombs on somebody. That right there tends to be a real huge giveaway to the judges and probably everyone else who's looking at it. But at any rate, it was a wonderful, wonderful fight, and I'm just happy that these guys they gave us a really, really good show. And what else too? At the end, these guys they gave each other props, and that's what true champions and fighters who respect the game. They respect their opponents, and they definitely, they give them their props, and they take their hats off to each other, and they give them much love and respect for the craft, because and like I said, Nate Diaz, I mean, he's full of heart, very, very smart guy, and a very excellent fighter. And then Conor McGregor, just I'm telling you, you talk about growth. You could see that it definitely stepped up his game, and he just really showed that he is an excellent fighter, a skillful fighter, someone who learns from adversity, and he makes the necessary adjustments, and he prevails. So, and he respects his opponents as well. And I just thought that was really good that those guys, they paid respect to each other, and and ended it the way that they did. It was really, really good, and they put on a great show. And I'm looking for the three-peat, guys. I'm looking for a third fight between these two guys, because you know what? They bring the excitement. They know how to get it done, and it's always interesting to see these guys, because like I said, they play chess outside of the ring. And you know what? I think when they did the mental chess game, I have to say, Nate Diaz, he won that one. He won that outside the ring, outside the octagon, and Conor won inside the octagon. So, but it was a chess game inside, and it was a chess game outside the octagon. And let me tell you, these guys, they made it very interesting. And you know what? I hope, because I'm hearing that there may be a Madison Square Garden. And you know what? If that's so, man, I definitely am going to be there a lot, right up close and personal, to be in the action. I'm very close to the area. So, yeah, that would be a very, very exciting and interesting fight to see again. I'm looking forward to these guys bringing it. So don't make us wait too long, UFC, everybody out there. We got to see these guys back into it. So with that said, I would love to see any of your comments out there. Share your thoughts as to what you thought about the UFC 202 event, the whole result. I would love to hear from you all out there and to let me know what you thought overall. And also, you know what to do. If you like what you heard, punch the thumbs up below and subscribe to my channel here. And I look forward to some more awesome things to discuss and share with all of you. Once again, everybody, one love, respect, and take care.